Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Zora Burley from In the Midnight Kitchen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a 20-minute butter chicken. So this is a really great recipe to use when you come home late from work and you want something wholesome but limited ingredients, just fillets, and we are going to be doing that this afternoon. So first things first, I'm going to run through the ingredients with you step by step. So over here I have fresh cut up fillet chicken. So I just used about 3 breasts, which would serve about 6 people roughly. And here I've got some passata sauce, also known as tomato paste. This is just an Italian brand that I really like. And then we're going to dice up an entire onion, which is like very fresh. So obviously the fresher your ingredients, the better your outcome will be of your dish. And when we start our dish, we are going to be sauteing the onion, some fresh Maldon salt, which is my favorite, a little bit of olive oil. You can also use normal canola oil, it's up to you. And then a little bit of butter. I just add as a bit of a richness to the dish. You don't really need to use it. And then I make my own garlic and ginger paste. So I just basically crush it and then add olive oil and just leave it in the fridge for whenever I need it. And then when we're talking about our spices, we've got 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 tablespoon of garam masala, and a teaspoon of chili powder. You can also use paprika, it doesn't really matter, it's up to you. And I just parboiled my rice now, so it takes the longest. I like to start with that first. I put in, this is about 200 mils of coconut milk that I used for the rice, and the other 200 is going to go into the butter chicken sauce. So I boiled the rice with a cup of water and then 200 mils of coconut milk, and that's just boiling. So we're going to let that cook, and in the meantime we're going to get to dicing our onion. So let's start. So I just use a normal sharp knife, and because it's just for 6 people, I don't need the whole onion and I don't really see the point of wasting it. So I'm just going to leave that there. And just as a side note with regards to cutting onions and keeping them overnight, they actually somehow produce a little bit of a supposedly toxic flavor into your food. So ideally I don't like to keep mine for more than 24 hours. I would rather just toss it away if I'm not using it. And if you want to avoid crying, which is just a little side note, I haven't actually done this today, which I should have, you can actually just put your onion in ice cold water for about an hour, and that takes away a lot of the acidity, which makes it a lot easier to chop and avoid the crying situation. So I'm going to chop these as finely as possible, and then I'm going to finish it by sauteing it with the garlic, ginger, olive oil, and butter, and then we can go from there. So this is just that. I usually use a white onion. You can use a red onion if you want to. That's totally up to you, doesn't really matter. I think a red onion does add a lot of flavor, but for this recipe I'm going to stick to a standard way of cooking. So our onions are almost done. Okay, so that is actually too much, I don't need it. So if I can use it for this evening, I will. If not, then within 24 hours I'm gonna have to chuck it. So this is gonna go into our pan with the olive oil, butter, garlic, and Maldon salt. So I'm just gonna move the whole situation to the pan over here. So I'm just gonna put that in. And I just put it on a medium speed. It doesn't need to be too high, otherwise it's gonna burn. So just a little bit. You don't want your onions to get too brown or too burnt at all. So the minute you see that happening, just slow down your heat completely. Okay, so I'm just gonna add in a little bit, this is about 2 tablespoons of oil. And this is just 2 teaspoons of butter, but I'm only going to use 1 because the other one is going to go into the sauce to make it a bit more creamy. So we're just going to add 1 in, and then all of our garlic and ginger, which is 2 teaspoons. So all of that goes in, and that sautés really nicely, and then just a dash of salt. So we're gonna let that saute. It should take about roughly 5 to 10 minutes. We don't want it to obviously be too brown, so we're just gonna watch it as it goes. So while my onions are sauteing and getting nice and brown and fragrant, I'm going to strain out my coconut rice because it's quite done. I boiled it for about 10 minutes on a medium heat, so it should be done right now. So I'm just gonna strain it and let it steam for a little bit, and that's that done. So it's over here. So that's done. Okay, so I just strained the rice, and the coconut cream gives it a really nice sticky texture to it as well. So I just strained it. I'm going to put it in a very low heat so that it can steam through. People like to use a little bit of a parboiler, so it's one that goes on top and steams right through with some water, but I'm just going to make a very quick meal because it's supposed to be done in 20 minutes. That's the whole point. So I'm just going to put it in a low speed to steam through. And then I'm going to get back to my onions, which seem to be done now. So I'm going to leave them at this point. I don't think they need to be done anymore. So now I'm going to add the chicken so that they can just brown on either side. You don't need to have them cook through completely because they should be cooking through in the sauce and absorbing that. So again, low heat, and we're going to start with our chicken now. So the chicken is just going to be, these are just, like I said, 3 fillets, so that's all we're doing. And I'm going to add them in so they can just brown really, really quickly. So once this is browned, you can add in your spices and the salt, obviously. And then add in your tomato paste and coconut milk, and then you're done. So the chicken is now smelling really fragrant, and you can get the really good hint of the garlic coming through really nicely. And as you can see, it's pretty cooked on the outside. The inside will still take a few minutes, but that's why we're going to add all the spices so it can cook in that really nicely. So the first thing that I'm going to add is just a pinch of salt, because I haven't added any salt into the chicken yet. Like I said earlier, this is just sea salt that I'm using. And this is a teaspoon of the cumin powder that's going to go over that. And then this is 2 tablespoons of garam masala. And this is your chili powder. So that's going to get in really nicely. And you should be able to smell all of this just being absorbed by the chicken really nicely. Again, just leave it on a medium heat so that it doesn't burn the spices too much, because you can actually taste that in your dish. So if you leave it nice and slow, it'll just cook through really naturally. So you can leave it at this stage for about 5 minutes, give or take, and then you can add your tomato paste and your coconut cream. Okay, so it's been cooking for a little bit now, and it's absorbed the spices really nicely. You can really get that smell of all these Indian spices that have been used in this dish. And now I'm going to add the tomato paste and the coconut cream because I want it to sit in it for a while. And when that happens, you can just put the lid on and just cover it for about 10 minutes, and then it should be done. So this is a cup of tomato paste, and this is going to give it that really beautiful red color. It even stopped simmering quite a lot because obviously this paste is in now. It's created a really nice foundational base. And I'm going to let this sit just for a little bit, and then I'm going to add in the coconut cream a little bit more near to the end. At this point, I'm just going to add the heat a little bit so that it can cook through quickly. I don't really want to leave it in this too long. I want to add the coconut cream in so that can all emulsify really nicely. You'll notice that your tomato paste is going to get a little bit stiff because there's nothing too liquidy in it. There's not water in there. There's not really that much oil. So it is going to get a bit stiff and it may feel like it's sticking to the pan a little bit. So when that starts to happen, that's when you add your coconut cream in to just sort of mix it up, give it that fluidity that it needs. So like I said earlier, this is just 200 ml of coconut cream. So I'm going to pour that in. You can add less if you want to. You don't have to add that much. And you'll see the colors like just change from red into like a really beautiful burnt orange. And then at this point you can just let your chicken ruminate in this for a while. So now we just let it cook through completely, and obviously if you need to add a little bit of pepper or salt or just sort of tweak it, you can just go on and do that. Okay, so my dishes are basically done. It took like so quick to make, so I already put everything off and now we can just plate it up and dig in. So the first thing I'm going to plate is my rice, my sticky rice actually. So it doesn't have to be beautiful, but it can look really nice. And you can really tell with putting coconut cream in it that it gives it that a lot fuller flavor, which I really like. Normal rice is obviously great, but I like having this flavor when I make butter chicken specifically. So obviously you can see this beautiful red color that's just popping through really nicely. And like I said, this is enough for about 4 to 6 people, unless you're eating a lot of it, and that's different. And I just garnish mine with a little bit of coriander or parsley. It's really up to you what you feel like. So yeah, I just chopped some fresh coriander. I grow my own, so I always have enough of that. So I'm just gonna pop it over. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching me today cooking my 20-minute butter chicken. I really hope that you try it, and I hope that you really enjoy it. And I am Zora from In the Midnight Kitchen. I have this blog post up currently, so if you are looking for a concrete recipe, it is there, can be found. And I really hope you do try this again. Bye.